Hey there, welcome to 3-2. This is the product and quotient rules. I'm going to split this into two videos. We're going to talk about product and quotient rules first, and then we'll talk about calculator differentiation second. So you learned the power rule. That's a pretty neat rule. And what we're going to do now is teach you another rule that works for differentiating functions when you have two polynomials multiplying or dividing. Okay, so here are just a couple of notes. Here is the product rule. And of course, we're going to use the product rule when we are multiplying two functions. And this just says that the derivative of f of x times g of x is equal to, okay, f of x times g prime of x plus g of x times f prime of x. And kind of the short way to think about this is through this notation here. And what this notation is saying is that the derivative of the first function times the second function is the first times the second, the derivative of the second, plus the second times the derivative of the first. Okay, no cool way of remembering that. You just need to go ahead and kind of do that, okay? That's the product rule. Now, the quotient rule does have like a little rhyme, and I'll get to that, but at first, the quotient rule is the derivative of f of x divided by g of x is equal to g of x times f prime of x minus f of x times g prime of x all over g of x squared. Now, I know that looks like a lot, and it looks like that's going to be very tedious to memorize, and yes, you do have to memorize that. You're going to have to memorize it. Okay, look for patterns. How do you put things together? Okay, here is kind of the shorter version of this. So it says the derivative of the top divided by the bottom. So it's the bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom divided by the bottom squared. Now there is a little rhyme that Mr. Maestas taught me, so I'll lend credit to him, but it goes low d high plus high d low all over the bottom squared, and away we go. That's what he says. Okay, so low d high plus high d low all over bottom squared, and away we go. Okay, so that's a little rhyme. If that works for you, feel free, right? But it's low d high plus high d low, right? And d being the derivative all over the bottom squared, okay? So those are the product and quotient rules. Very, very helpful, very, very useful, and they pop up all over calculus. And we'll go ahead and look at some examples. So here's example 1. And they ask us to differentiate. Now, you've done examples just like this before. However, you've multiplied out the two binomials, and then you've taken the power rule. Well, we're doing product rule, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the product rule, okay? Now, the product rule, which is f prime of x, again, remember, is the first times the derivative of the second. Okay, so we have the first, so 3x squared minus 2, the first times the derivative of the second, which is 2, plus the second times the derivative of the first, so 2x plus 3 times the derivative of the first portion, which is 6x. Okay, right? And when I say first and second, this is what I'm talking about, right? This is your first function. This is your second function or piece, if you will. Okay, and there is your derivative. Okay, so I mean, naturally, we're gonna have to go ahead and distribute this out and simplify. Okay, so here we go, and this gives us 18x squared plus 18x minus 4, okay? And there is f prime of x. All right, that's the product rule. All right, next, here we have a polynomial over a polynomial, and what we're going to do is we are going to use the quotient rule. Okay, so remember the quotient rule is low d high plus high d low. Okay, so low being this portion here. So low d high. Okay, so y prime equals low d high. Okay, so I gotta multiply by the derivative of the top, which is this piece here. Okay, so times 4. Isn't that a fancy 4? Okay, 4x squared minus 4. Okay, low d high minus. Okay, so now I'm gonna get my subtraction on. All right, subtract, sweet, times high d low. Okay, so my top function, 2x squared minus 4x plus 3 times the derivative of the bottom, okay, which would be -3. Okay, and again, it's all over the bottom squared, which is 2 minus 3x. Okay, that quantity squared. All right, and for sakes and purposes, I'll just leave it there. I could multiply all that out, but I don't have time for that right now. Okay, so there's your derivative. All right, next example. Here again, I can easily make this x, right? I can rewrite this function as -9x to the -2nd power over 5, and we can take the derivative. Okay, so then y prime using the product rule would be positive 18x to the -3rd over 5. So I could do that, but again, this is about the product and the quotient rule. So that would be preposterous. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example. All right, so here we go. Remember, it's high d low, or no, low d high. Low d high. See, I don't even remind myself. Okay, low times the derivative of the top. Okay, so y prime. Low d high. So the bottom, 5x squared times the derivative of the top, right? Derivative of the top, which is 0. Okay. Minus high d low. Okay, so the top, -9 times the derivative of the bottom, which is 10x. Okay, all over the bottom squared. So 5x squared. Okay, so we'll go ahead and simplify. Obviously, this portion here, we multiply times 0. That goes away. And we get -9, so that's +9 times 10 is 90x. All over 5x squared. So that is 25x to the 4th. Okay, and if we simplify this by 5, we'll get 18 over 5, and we have x to the 3rd. And there's your derivative. Okay, that is the product and the quotient rule. Okay, so again, while you're doing these, while you're getting the hang of it, while you're memorizing it, okay, use flashcards to memorize it. Look at the derivative rule in front of you. So while you're doing it, go piece by piece, just like I did, okay? Watch this video again if you need to for product and quotient rule. All right, catch you next time. Peace.